Welcome back to the Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, continuing my conversation with my good friend, Tony Powers of Powers to the People radio program, a regular contributor on this show. And I love doing his program as well. We have a great mutual appreciation society going, buddy.
Yeah, and I always love having you on, Kevin. And I'll tell you, this is the most exciting election I think I've ever seen. And this is going to be a fun, well, how many months we got now? The next 10 months are going to be, or 8 months are going to be pretty crazy.
It's going to be unbelievable. And talk a little bit about the ground game. We hear about this so much. The media are like moths pursuing light, and let's face it, Donald Trump brings a lot of shock and awe and vision, and hyperbole, and so he's fun to follow. But we know historically ground game matters, and I believe that's why Ted Cruz shocked everyone in Iowa. I think there's going to be some shock, as you pointed out, there in South Carolina. And as it gets further along, Ted Cruz becomes the logical candidate. I look at Super Tuesday, and I think, man, what a mess for anyone unless your name's Ted Cruz.
Well, yeah, Donald Trump, he has a great air game. He flies in his big jet with his name on it, and he has these big rallies, and a lot of people come out and support him. And I think a lot of it, though, is almost like, well, celebrity worship a little bit. And you see these folks turn out at these rallies, but very much like in Iowa, do they turn out to caucus or do they turn out to vote? Now, they did in New Hampshire, but of course, in New Hampshire, Donald Trump plays well there because he's really not a conservative. He's really more of a liberal. If you look back at his track record over the years and things he's said, Trump is really not a conservative. But Ted Cruz is, and you're right about the ground game. It's easy to fly in and have a big rally, and it's impressive, and everybody says, well, gosh, he must just be the best because he's got the biggest rallies. Well, Ted Cruz, he has huge rallies, too, and I've seen many of those in South Carolina. But the thing he has is the ground game, and I've actually seen it up close and personal, especially with his super PACs. Now, of course, he doesn't control those, but they go around, and they've knocked on over 100,000 doors in South Carolina. They've made hundreds of thousands of phone calls, and they can actually walk up down a street, and they can, with a tablet, and they can stand in front of a house with their Google Earth on that tablet, and you can see who is in that. Well, they know who lives in that house, the ages of the people that lived in that house, if they voted, how they voted in past elections, and they've got the demographics broken down. So they knock on that door, and they know if Mr. Smith is 68 years old, if the daughter is there living in the house as well, and they really have it down to a science. And so they're much more efficient, and that ground game is just incredible. They have thousands of volunteers that just span out across the state, much like they did in Iowa. And that's why I think come Saturday, a lot of people are going to be surprised at how well Ted Cruz does.
Yeah. He is like a man on fire, Ted Cruz is, man. I've interviewed him, I've interviewed him more than any other radio, show host. I don't know how many times we had him on The Price of Business when he ran for U.S. Senate against David Dewhurst, and everyone said, you can't beat David Dewhurst. David Dewhurst has been around for over a decade. He was an architect and played a big role in the Texas economy, et cetera, and it's like talking to a man of destiny when you talk to Ted Cruz. He knows that he's supposed to do the next thing. And I guarantee you that of all of the candidates, the one who has the least amount of doubt that he will be president is Ted Cruz.
Oh, yeah. He is very confident. I've had the opportunity to interview him. And as a matter of fact, I'll have him on this afternoon. He's going to be one of the speakers tonight at this Conservative Review convention in Greenville, South Carolina. And he's the last speaker right before Mark Levin. And we'll probably have him on this afternoon. But the thing about Cruz, and you're right, he is kind of like a man of destiny, and he is dedicated to the Constitution, and he is definitely dedicated to stopping the Washington cartel, as he likes to call them, or the D.C. cartel, and actually putting power back in the hands of the states and the people. And if you've been out there arguing and fighting about this for years and years and years, don't throw away your chance now, because we actually have a guy who's running who is a consistent, constitutional, Christian conservative. And it's like he is made for the office, and he's made for folks like me who want to see us get back to smaller, limited government and more liberty and freedom.
Yeah, I would say he is the most of any candidate who still has a fighting chance or was a nominee. You know what I'm saying? So, like, in past years, I could point to other guys. I was a big fan of Pete DuPont in 1988 with his damn right proposals on, that were honest about Social Security, other things. But of my lifetime, at least since Ronald Reagan, he is the most consistent, true conservative in my lifetime.
Oh, yeah, mine too. And, the last time that, some people, if you're under 44 years of age, you've never had a chance to vote for a conservative. And so this is our first chance since Ronald Reagan to actually put a conservative, a real constitutional conservative in the White House. And Ted Cruz, I think he'll end up being greater than Ronald Reagan. I really do. I really have that much respect for the man. And I know that he will do what he says he'll do, and that's why they're trying to attack him on the trust issue, because that's where he is so strong. And I think Donald Trump and Rubio and the others who are trying to attack him on that issue, they want to tear away the veneer, but I don't think it's going to work. Ted Cruz is a man who can be trusted, and he is the conservative that we've been waiting for since Ronald Reagan.
So my gut tells me that of the candidates you're looking at, Kasich's probably going to do the worst. Is that accurate, do you think? Because I heard he had virtually no ground game, nothing. John Kasich.
Well, Rubio's got a pretty good ground game in South Carolina.
But I'm saying that of the other candidates, I'm expecting Kasich to do the worst of the GOP candidates in South Carolina. Do you think that's accurate?
No, I think Kasich's actually going to do second to worst. Unfortunately for Bush, I think this is going to be his last hurrah in South Carolina, because I think he's going to come out of here with about 5 or 6%. Kasich will probably do about 8 or 9%. Rubio will probably come in at about 15, and then Carson. Carson may be down there with Bush, but maybe Carson at 2%. So I see this being a Cruz Trump race, and the race for third is going to be the big deal. I think Rubio's going to pull it out, but Kasich actually is doing better here than I would have imagined.
Yeah, that's interesting. I just kind of thought that Lindsey Graham might be helping Bush quite a bit, but you don't see it.
No, I just don't see Kasich doing well here, but I mean, I think he's going to be respectable. I see Bush and Carson in the bottom when this whole thing ends on Saturday.
Tony Powers to the people, great radio talk show personality, great network, italkus.com, and a favorite here on The Price of Business. Thanks so much, my friend. Look forward to joining you soon on your show.
Thank you, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. I really appreciate it, and look forward to having you on next week.
You bet. All right, when we come back, more for you right here on The Price of Business.